This is Dirshu Mishnah Berurah. As we slowly play catch up over here, we're continuing Siman and Nun Hey, and today we're going to be learning Sif Dalid and Sif Hey. And we begin Sif Dalid, in which the Mechaber teaches us Ishma Tirim Leimer Davar Shebekdusha B'Tisha B'Tirav Katan. There are some that allow one to say Kaddish if you have 9 people and a Katan. This is a bit startling for many, as this is, maybe perhaps what people have previously thought is a bit of a myth, and we're seeing here is a real halacha. Says the Mechaber, there are those that are matir, there are those that allow one to say Kaddish with 9 people together with a Katan. As long as he is older than 6 and he knows to whom we are davening. And says the Mechaber, an interesting lashon, we don't find this very often. Says the Mechaber, lo nira divrayim, to whom ligedolei hapaiskim. Ligedolei hapaiskim do not agree with this statement. Fuadin, says the Mechaber, the eved v'isha in mitzarfin, and similarly, an eved, a woman, an eved, a servant, an isha, a woman are not mitzaref, do not combine for the minyan. Says the Ramah, again, on a line that perhaps many thought is a bit of a joke, but we see there is some level of validity if you have to come to say not. Says the Ramah, even if the child is holding a chumash, he still is not mitzaref. Fascinating. There are those that are mikol b'shas adchak in a time of need. If we have a child holding a chumash, says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkatan Chav Gimel Al Yedei Chumash, going at the end of this sif on this final Ramah, says Mishnah Berurah, the fact that the katan is holding a chumash does not make him into an ish, into a man that would allow him to be included for a minyan. However, the Ramah concluded that b'shas adchak, in a time of need, there are those who are lenient. Says the Ramah, b'shas adchak, sivkat chavdal, it explains the Mishnah Berurah, ratzalemer afilu b'li chumash, not only with a chumash, even without a chumash, says the Mishnah Berurah, kedasik ishma tirnanal, like the first opinion in this sif in the Mechaber, that there are those who are mekel with a katan, v'davka echad v'lo shnayim. Says Mishnah Berurah, there's only one child and not 2. Levush says, I don't know anyone who is mikol even b'shas adchak. Says the Mishnah Berurah. So again, the Ramah said b'shas adchak. Mishnah Berurah explains that the shas adchak of the Ramah is referring to what? Is referring to even without a chumash. Comments of the Mishnah Berurah that the Levush says he never saw anyone do this, and the Mishnah Berurah himself writes that nowadays we are noyig litzarif a katan, a child with a chumash, in his hands. Says Mishnah Berurah, don't make a mistake. This doesn't make it a real minyan. This only allows one to your kaddish, to your baruch hu, which is an obligation. Aval kaddish achar aleinu lo yoimru. You do not say the Kaddish after Aleinu. Says Mishnah Berurah, many Achroinim are Bachmir. Over here, who are we quoting? According to El Yerab, the Pri Megadan, the Rechayim, the Chayadam, that were not mitzaref hakatan even in a time of Eid. Ad sheyishlo agid gimel shanim, until he is 13 years old. Oinein einim mitzaref leminyan, and oinein, one who is waiting for a relative to be buried in between the time of the death and the kvura, is not counted in a minyan. V'hainu kol oinein shachayev le'zabel alav afilu ino mutal alav v'kavrei. Says Mishnah Berurah, this is an oinein who has an obligation to mourn even if he is not dealing with the burial. Kigoin if he's in the same city as the mace. Unless it's given over to those who take care of the kvuro. And here the Mishnah Berurah, hidden over here in our sif of Kaddish, in our Siman of Kaddish, the Mishnah Berurah sneaks in a very important halacha about an oinin. The mace in another city, and there are people dealing with it. The halacha in such a scenario is He does not have the regular dine aninos. If he wanted to learn, he's allowed to, and we would not protest. Such a person could yes combine to a minyan. However, says Mishnah Berurah calls that linyan ainin. Aval ba'avel vadei mitzaref leberachas hamazon utfilah. Says Mishnah Berurah, and avel certainly combines both for berachas hamazon and for tefillah. Continues the mechaber in Sifhei imlo yevi shtei sayros. We have a katan that has not brought shtei sayros afilu gadol b'shanim. Even if he's a gadol b'shanim, meaning he is 13 years old. He's 13 years old, just he is not sprouted the 2 necessary pubic hairs. Dino ki katan is din of a katan. Achesi roiv shenaisav. Shazis barshu suris until he reaches the roiv shenaisav. And at that point, then we know that he is a suris, one that is not going to be able to have these simanim. And if we know for a fact that he's not going to sprout the pubic hairs, we know he's not going to attain the signs of gadlus, then with the shanim alone, he's going to have the din of a gadol. And comments the Ramah, he says the Ramah, we're not mikdaktik in this halacha of making sure that this 13-year-old boy has the shtei sayros al kol sheigil lechlal shenaisav. Says the Ramah, anyone that has reached the requisite 13 years, turning over the page over here, machzekino naisai ki gadol, we account him as a gadol. Va'imrim linyanzem mistama evi shtei sayros. And we say that mistama, he brought the necessary shtei sayros. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkatul Chavei Shtei Sayros. Bishar Mekayim Zagov in other places of the body. If you leave Shtei Sayros Bazakin in his beard, that would suffice. Dina Kikatim maybe Shtei Sayros Nasagodom Yom Shevi Lemafreya. It doesn't count Lemafreya, rather from that moment and onward, but not retroactively. Rav Shanaisaf. V'loivin Irak Yom Echad Yisrael. Lamed Shana, 1 day more than 35 years. That's considered the Roiv, the majority of his years. Assuming a person lives for 70 years, then he's considered a suris. Then he is considered a gadol retroactively from age 13, because we know now at age 35 in 1 day that he never was capable of growing these hairs, etc. Siman suris of gadol chavtaz before b'menezes simin kofayim beisiv hey b'afilu achavin asimanim and iskarim shama ani la'ashvayis l'suris. Even one of the signs that's mentioned over there is enough to count him as a surism. If he did not bring 2 ears in his beard, now comments to Mishnah Berurah Sivkat and Lamed that once he brings these simanim, then he has a dinam of a gadol. It's only once he's 20 years old, and 30 days after he turns 20 years old. So we turn over to the Mishnah Berurah Kenu Das. Roiva boys came Ebenezer Siman Kof the Nace of you bees. Loiv Ishtei Sayros. Does Mahani Swan La Shavi Siris Lemafreya? Then we consider him to be a Siris, one who is not capable of sprouting the facial hairs, etc. Ancient Aldulai Siman Mishnas Asrim. My question was that whether he got these signs before or after. Aval Kodesh Yigil Shnas Asrim. Before age 20, Aval Bi Shishlo B'Kol Simani Siris Amrina Dainu Kat, and even if he has all the signs, all the characteristics that we know he's not going to ever have the simanim, still he's the din of a katan, right? Prima Gadim Shem Zadi Laimar. Prima Gadim said that in Tefillah Shumederabanon Efshur the Ishagul Tzarva Vilu Kadim Asrim. With regard to Tefillah, which is in the Rabbanon, perhaps we can make all even before he's 20, I'm there by Simani Suris. The Mishnah Berurah leaves this as a bit of an open-ended without paskening. Now the Mishnah Berurah comments on the Ramah Lamed Aleph that the Ramah said, but nowadays we go with the shanim, we go with the years, irrespective of whether, and we're not medaktik. If he had shtei sayros, says Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Lamed Aleph, he needs zera, tzalaimer, he needs tefillah shumid rabbanan. Commenting and perhaps continuing the conversation of the Pri Megadim, that with regard to tefillah, which is din derabbanon, and we allow a child once he reaches 13 years old. Tefillah das apaiskim the tefillah daraisa. Says Bishmur, 1 second. We know there's a very famous machlekes Ramban whether tefillah is daraisa or rabbanon. Al kabanim sir vasar lav daraisa he. The minyan is not a din daraisa, meaning even according to the opinions that davening is daraisa, tefillah is daraisa, but not the din of a minyan. Al kain samchin al zev aminim kiven shabav chlal shnaisem mistama hevish shtei sayros, because it's only a din derabbanon. We say that we assume that at age 13 he brought the shtei sayros. The Rav Anashim, most people mekiven sheigil chlal shnaisem mistama hevish shtei sayros. Most people age 13 already have 2 hairs. Avlinin shar chiyuv daraisa. Einai Mayel, as we've seen already, for example, Talain Parsha Zachar, etc. And if Begadim explains why in reality we're going to be machmir for the dinim de'a raisa.